Hello, guys. Hello. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Everyday Donna, where every day I hope that you're striving to become the everyday you. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm so thankful. I've seen people that, are obviously watching some of my content that I'm putting up. So I just want to thank you guys so much for, I'm a new YouTuber. This is my new channel. So, so it means a lot to me to know that people are even looking, at my content. So, again, if you like it, if you want to see more, definitely please comment below, like below, definitely subscribe below. Is that the right below? Yeah, that's the right below. So, yeah, so I know that, hey, people really are, digging the information that I'm laying down. I guess that's how you say it, right? Is that how you say it? So anyways, enough silliness aside, I'm going to get to some serious business today. Yeah. Um, I am probably have tons and tons of bags under my eyes because I have just been trying to look at some movies, do some reviews on some movies, and one of the movies that I was deeply anticipating, you guys have no idea how deeply I was anticipating this movie, was The Dark Tower. So with this being said, I'm going to say this. I do not aim with my hand. He who aims with his hand has forgotten the face of his father. I aim with my eye. I do not shoot with my hand. He who shoots with his hand has forgotten the face of his father. I shoot with my mind. I do not kill with my gun. He who kills with his gun has forgotten the face of his father. I kill with my heart. And I can't take credit for that. I wish I could. This is Stephen King, Stephen King, and it's the gunslinger who is actually who's saying these words. So with that being said, I'm going to do a review, my ideas and what I saw the other day about for its opening night, The Dark Tower. So with that, there will be spoilers. So please, if you have not seen The Dark Tower, first go and see it, and then come back and kind of let's talk about it below. Feel free to leave your comments. I look forward to hearing everybody's views on what they took from The Dark Tower. Okay, so without further ado, when I saw The Dark Tower, I will admit to you guys, I do pay attention sometimes to other reviews. I paid attention to, the Rotten Tomato. I check, oh, is this worth me even going to look at it? Let me take a look at what some of the critics are saying. And I'm not saying it's the end all be all with reviews, and you'll see why when I tell you how I feel. But I do sometimes, I hate to say it, I do kind of come in with a little bit of a bias attitude sometimes. If I listen to the reviews first and then I see the movie, sometimes I do kind of come in like if they said it was going to be a bad movie, I kind of come in with okay, let's see. I'm a little bit more critical, I guess you could say, of the movie. So with that being said, I went and Rotten Tomato, I was starting to say Tomato Meter, but that's the way they judge it. But the the place is called Rotten Tomato, and I saw that it was roughly around 60-something% of the general public loved it, and it was a small percentage, 19%. I was showing that of the critics that liked it. So then I said, wow, this is amazing. So I kind of was reading some of the reviews of what some of the critics were saying. And I can honestly say it was a good movie. It was totally, I mean, when you say 19%, I'm assuming this is, something that is absolutely horrible. Like, um, and so I was kind of came in a little biased to look at it, and I was a little critical. So with that being said, it stars, I can never say his name right. Is it Idris Elba or Idris Elba? Hmm. Hmm. But it stars him, also Matthew McConaughey, as well. And then, of course, there's a little boy who is on the good side, of course, of the whole story, a little boy who the story centers itself around. So basically, we see this little boy, spoiler alert, we see this little boy as he is being bullied in school. He's thought of to be too different. He's, mistreated at school. He comes home, and you could look at the surroundings sort of the home life, and you get the impression that they're not doing too well, financially. His mother isn't. And then we see a male character there with the mother, and we're presuming that's her new husband, and that he is not the boy's father, he is the stepfather. And we sense the coldness between the stepfather and this little boy, but we also can feel the love that the mother has for her son. But we get the impression that it's not a cohesive family unit. The house looks the space looks run down. The stepfather obviously is not loving and caring towards his stepson. So you kind of feel for this little boy who, it starts off with him being teased and bullied and thought it was different in school. He comes home, there doesn't seem to be the right kind of love and a great environment, to be honest, for him to grow in. He does have one friend. That friend lives in the same, I guess it's like some type of townhome apartments or something that he lives in. And, even the little friend, kind of thinks he's weird, but, he does like him. He accepts him for his weirdness. And that's a good friend, when you have a friend who says, hey, I think you're a little weird or you're a little different. Hey, I'm going to be your friend anyway. I thought that was good. He at least had that. And so what happens is this child has been having all of these dreams. He's having these, really almost like horrific dreams, almost nightmares, almost like the coming of the end of the world. And so he's actually drawing, and his drawing is absolutely amazing. And he's sketching in charcoal all of these things that he's seeing. He sees the gunslinger, who is the hero of the show, if you will, and he sees the man in black, who is the villain, who is Matthew McConaughey, played by Matthew McConaughey. And so he's seeing all these things. He's not quite sure what it means. His room is filled with these drawings. And basically, after his episode, it's one of the episodes at school where he was bullied, and he actually attacks the bully back and gives him, what for what. The teachers pull him out of school, and then his mom and stepfather discuss maybe sending him off somewhere else, almost like to some type of a clinic that deals with people that have disorders or issues. And so what we're seeing here is the boy then realizes, I really don't want to go to the clinic. Basically, his stepfather's saying you need to go. The only reason you're having these ideas or whatever is because he's basically saying he's a loon. Okay. We see a picture on the boy's desk that falls down on his table, and we realize that's the boy's real father. Apparently, his real father died trying to save some people. I believe his father was a firefighter. And so, of course, the boy misses him. His mom is stuck between trying to appease her new husband and keep the peace and, loving her son. But even she says, you need to go to this place. So basically, he ends up, long story short, the people come for him. In his visions, he was seeing these people with the skin that, their skin was basically faces that they put on. They kind of look like rats. They were very furry faces, and they really looked like big rats in the face. And so when these people came for him, he saw a seam in the guy's face that let him know that was, the situation. So he runs, he escapes, he goes into this house that he had noticed was in his vision. and it ends up being a portal to another world. He's transported to the world. He meets the gunslinger. The gunslinger and him do not get along at first. The gunslinger's kind of grouchy and kind of like, I really don't want this extra baggage, but since you seem to know something, I'm going to get you to a seer who can tell us what your dreams mean. And so they go on this little adventure. They get there to this town, and we realize there's still people left in this deserted, what looks to be a desert. And we realize that, earlier on, there was an encounter with a monster, and we realized that it was a real place before the darkness took it over, because that was like the boy was running from the monster on a merry-go-round or Ferris wheel or whatever, a roller coaster or whatever. And it was funny because the gunslinger's like, that was an ancient structure. And the little boy's like, that is that's an amusement park. It's a Ferris wheel. What do you mean an ancient structure? So it's kind of, there's some humor in there with the gunslinger, who's this kind of forbidding man. But another thing we learn about the gunslinger is he did lose his father. They were the last two surviving gunslingers. And then the man in black killed his father. He has the ability to touch people and inspire hate in them, or he's like basically a devil. He's basically like the devil. And he touched his father and said, stop breathing. He could touch people and do that, but he could not do it to the gunslinger. The gunslinger was special. He was different. He could he couldn't get into the gunslinger's head to destroy him. So it was almost like the gunslinger was immune. He had this power to not be affected by the words of this being. But the gunslinger's tired. They've been battling the darkness and trying to save the Dark Tower, which the Dark Tower keeps the world safe. It keeps all the demons out of the universe. And what the man in black is doing is he's just kidnapping children in our world and other worlds and using their minds. And the more powerful the mind, the more destructive he can use their mind to transport a beam to knock out pieces of the Dark Tower and eventually destroy it. And so here's this little boy who we find is very psychic. We find when he meets the seer that she can speak to him in his mind and he can hear her. She says he's extremely strong. So the man in black really wants him because he feels if he gets this powerful kid and uses his mind to destroy the Dark Tower, he will have success. The demons will rule the world and he can walk the world and all of this. So we go through the story and there's a moment where they're attacked and we see the gunslinger really, this guy, he could, with his eyes closed, and he has this thing that he kind of tunes in, and like he says, he shoots with his mind, so he really can hear, and it goes silent, and he could hear the rooster way down. He could hear this way down, and one of the evil people had the little boy and was running with him, and the gunslinger could hear it all the way down there, and he held a gun and shot and killed the guy. It was so amazing, and we really see his true talents, and we really say, wow, this guy really is the gunslinger. Although he's tired, and people in the town are like, well, why are you going just for revenge? To get revenge for your father that the man in black killed? You should be trying to save the Dark Tower. And he's like, I'm not that man anymore. All I want to do, the darkness is here. We can't fight it anymore. I'm tired of fighting it. I lost my father fighting it. I just want to kill the man in black and be done with this. But what we see is that the boy inspires him through a series of things to make him believe again, to be a gunslinger and everything. And the boy believes that he's the gunslinger. And so there was this touching scene where he actually recites the oath that I just said, that all gunslingers say and take, with the little boy, and he gives the little boy a gun, and the boy starts shooting, and he's reciting this oath, and he's basically passing this on to this little boy. What I love about this is so many things, and I'm going to catch you guys on the second half of this review.